Dear students, so this is the second part of the lecture number 8. I have previously uploaded the part 1 and this is the part 2. So we have stopped our lecture or the video from this slide. Here we talked about there are general properties in metals. We all know what they are. But here what we are going to do is we are going to understand how those properties came to be. What is the reason behind to metal to have these properties? What is the reason for that? So basically this video or these properties of the metals will be basically based on the things we have learned previously. The crystal structures, BCC, FCC, HCP, things like that, and the defects, so many things we have learned in the previous videos. So let me start about the general properties of the most metals. So basically these metals are solid at room temperature. There are one metal which is a liquid at room temperature, and I will tell why. And also generally metals have high melting temperature and also good conductors of electricity and heat both, and it is malleable and ductile at the same time, and it is strong, and the density wise it is normally have a high density. So these are the general properties, right? But so because of that, remember there can be one or two metals which are not showing these exact properties. For example, I told you that generally metals are solid at room temperature, but mercury is a liquid at room temperature. So there are some exceptions. That's why we call it general properties, right? So before we understand how these properties work, we need to understand what is the reason behind that and what is the base behind that. So that is the reason we are learning the structure of metals. So apart from the structure of metals, we know there are different bondings in between elements. We have learned ionic bonds, we have learned covalent bonds, we have learned metallic bonds. Apart from that, we have learned about van der Waals bonds, H bonds when we are doing chemistry in advanced level. So in metals, the basic bonding type is metallic bond. How metallic bond occurs? The metal ion or metal atom will give, or let's say it will sacrifice, or in a more effective word we can say it will donate one or two electrons to the common area. So by giving or donating one or two electrons to the common area, that ion or whatever the metal atom will be a positive ion by giving the electrons out. So now by doing all the atoms we are going to do that, and when they do that, there will be a sea of electrons. The electrons they have donated are freely moving here and there by making this positively charged metallic atom intact. So that is how basically how metals keep their shape. So by giving these electrons into this electron sea or the common area, these positively charged atoms, iron or whatever the material, copper, aluminium, different type of metals, they tend to pack together, and that packing is happening in a structural way or organized way. And those structures we learned previously called BCC, simple cubic, FCC, face-centered cubic, HCP, and there are different type of packing methods or structures, right? So now you have the idea what is or how these atoms get together and pack together and how they bonded together. in this particular metallic solid. So using that theory in your mind, we can easily decide how these properties can be achieved from the metals. So here you can see what I have already said in this slide, so you can read it again. So same thing will be there. Now something like that. So I have put a picture here. So these are the positively charged metallic atom, and the C is here. This is the sea of electrons, and these metals atoms are packed very well in an organized manner. Right. So now we are coming to the point. Why do the metals have high melting points? So you can read it out. I will read it for you as well. So metals often have high melting point and boiling points. That means it should go more than the melting point to boil. So they are having more than 2000 melting points. This property is due to the strong attraction between the positively charged metal ions and the sea of electrons. So this is important. Attraction is between the positively charged metal ions and the sea of electrons. And this is not between the positively charged metallic atom and another positively charged metallic atom. They will repel each other because they both have positive charge. So basically, the attraction is between the sea of electrons and the positively charged metal ion. Because of that high attraction, so this is a basically type of a primary bond. We know there are several primary bonds: ionic bonds, covalent bonds, and the metallic bond. So to overcome that means they have a certain strength or energy in between them, attracting them. To separate them, we should give some power. So basically, we should give some energy to unstabilize it and break it over. So in that case, the easiest to break is most probably covalent bonds. Normally that happens, but that depends on the material. Anyway, when it comes to the metals, the bond is also very energy high and very strengthened bond. Because of that, we need higher energy to break that. To make it a melt, we need a higher energy. That's why it have a very high melting point. And this is due to the attraction between positive charge atoms, the metal ions, and the sea of electrons. And even this is the case when it comes to the extraction of metals, because to extract them, that means normally, as I told you, they are in the oxide form, normally in the earth crust, ferrous and copper, things like this. These some metals which are in the positive side of the electrical potential table, they tend to have many oxides, so which can be broken by giving high heat. But some metals are there which are in the negative side of the electron potential. That means you will learn these things in the corrosion lesson. So many metals like sodium, magnesium, potassium, things like that. So they are not in the oxide form. Basically, they are in their salt form. That means NaCl, MgCl, things like that. So because of that, they are very hard to divide by heating. So normally we are using electricity to electrocute them and separate them. That's how normally we take high reactive metals out of their natural form for their pure form. So anyway, that also a reason for the metals to be high cost. So basically, in like industrial process, we use iron, copper, and those things of materials. So those normally extracted by furnaces often run continuously to maintain the high temperature needed to work with the molten metals. So that's basically what happened when it comes to the positive side of the electric potential. Right. So now you understand why these metals are solid at room temperature and why they have higher melting point. And also I told you that in room temperature there's an exception. Mercury is in its liquid form in the room temperature. The basic reason behind that is mercury, well, we can say it is reluctant to give electrons to the sea of electrons. So I told you in earlier, normally these metals are in the D category. So in D category there are a few electrons that they can donate, but mercury, it doesn't tend to donate any electron to that electron sea. So because of lack of donation, there are no electrons in this sea, not enough electrons in the sea to increase the bonding strength between the metallic ion and the electron sea. Because of that, it doesn't seem as a solid in room temperature. So that's the basic reason behind mercury being a liquid in the room temperature. Right. Second one, how do metals conduct heat and electricity? So using the same theory, we can identify what is the reason. So here it says delocalized electrons, and that means the electrons in the electron sea in metallic bonding allow metals to conduct heat and electricity. So how that does happen? As I told you, these electrons in the electron sea are free to move, but not the positively charged ions. So because these electrons are free to move, when they have a potential energy from one side, they tend to move to the other side because they have that mobility. When a metal heat, what happens? So let's say, yes, I don't have anything else here. Let's say this is a metal. If you put a, let's say, candle or something, fire on this side, what happens? The energy increases in this side. That means the mobility of electrons increase this side. That means the kinetic energy increases in this side. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. When the energy increases, that means it will heat up. What is heat? Heat means the vibrational energy or the kinetic energy of the atoms or the electrons. So these electrons will vibrate in a very high speed in this side, but in this side it is not. But the thing in metal is electrons in these metals are free to go anywhere because of their high kinetic energy. They are known without any barrier, they can move from this side to this side, this direction. That's how metals conduct heat. That vibration energy or the kinetic energy will come to this side and you will feel heat from this side as well. And same story when it comes to the electricity. When you put a electron potential in this side, the electrons will push the sea of electrons from this side. So that electrons will go from here to here because of that push. Electron, basically it's how it happens. So that's why electrons or metals can conduct electricity in its body. So basically these electrons then move faster and so transfer the gained energy through the metal. Now we also know, I'm telling something different here. So when you let's say put some potential electricity here, right? Let's say we are connecting a battery. So the electrons will go from here to here. That means electrons direction is from here to here, and the current direction we are considering from here to here, right? You know what it means. Current from here to here, that means electrons will go from this side to this side. Then what happens is, if the metal is thick enough, it is very easy for the electrons to go from this side without any distraction or let's say any barrier, because they have enough space to do that. But if it is becoming less and less thick or thinner, what happens? So these electrons tend to go from this side to this side, but there are so many barriers. They will collapse with the positively charged atoms, and because of that, heat will generate inside the atoms or the structure, and you will feel the heat from outside. Normally that's what happens when you conducting electricity or high electricity in a metal. So that's basically what happens in the incandescent light bulb as well, right? In signal because Sutrika Viduliphan. I think you know what the reason. Because of the resistance is very high, these electrons go from here to here. Because of the higher resistance, it will generate high heat until the metal get white hot. We know there are different type of hotness, right? With the temperature, if the temperature is low, we call red hot, raktatapta. If it is go more than that, we call white hot. So because of that white hotness, you will see the light, right? So that's basically what I'm telling you. What I want to tell was the conduction of heat and electricity happens due to this electricity of electrons and their mobility, right? Now other thing is why metals are strong. Same thing happens again. Metals are usually strong, not brittle. So the reason behind the strong is the attraction behind the this metallic ion and the sea of electrons. So, but the thing is, we also know that metals are ductile and malleable. So the reason behind that is the same thing, the structure. So here you can see a particular structure here. So we don't know what is, whether it is SCO, BCC or FCC. Anyway, so there's an arranged atomic structure here. If you put a force from one side, what happens is, since there are no, let's say, what you can say, stationary bond here. As I told you, this in this sea of electrons, stationary bond is not there. In a covalent bond, there's a stationary bond. In the ionic bond, there's a stationary bond. That means, let's say, sodium chloride, sodium here, chlorine here, and around the sodium, there are chlorine. They are stationary. If something happen, if you put some forces, it will break because the bonds are stationary. But in here, as I told you, these electrons have a higher mobility. Because of that, if you push an atom, it will go somewhere, but still the strength between the bonds will be there because electrons will be there because it's in the sea, electron sea. So that's the basic reason why metals can, let's say, they have a ductile and malleable property. We can put a force on them, they will change their shape, but still they are strong. So that's the basic reason. Here in the picture also you can see, right here in the picture you can see there's a metallic. So here the structure is like this, and electrons you can see in very little particles wise, right? This is a picture to understand this phenomena. If you put a force in one side, the electrons will have the same. So here, if you even you see a different structure here, the same pattern here, 2 positive, top of that 1 positive, same here, 2 positive, top of the 1 positive. So same structure will be there, but if you see from outside, the change, the what you call the shape will change, but inside the atoms, the structure is same. So because of that, we can say that metals are strong because of their bonding strength, but also at the same time they can be malleable and ductile because their structure can be deviate, but still they have the bond stably there, right? So here, as I told you, here also explain the this phenomena. As I told you here, explain the why metals are malleable and ductile, right? So basically, what is the most malleable and ductile metal? Think inside your brain. Usually gold is the most malleable and ductile. We consider that is gold, which have the highest malleability, ductility, right? So if you have pure gold, you can't make any jewelry. It will break. It is like when you even within fingers you can press it and it will make a thin sheet. So that's why we add other elements or other metals to gold to increase the strength of gold. Otherwise you can't make let's say what do you call jewelries from gold, right? So here I have asked few questions, true or false questions. So I will tell whether it is true or false, but before I tell it, you just think whether this is true or false. Read it out and I will read with you, and just note whether this one is true or false and why. Okay, so here about these questions are or phrases are statements are about metallic bondings. So are these statements about metallic bonding true or false? The first one is metals have a lattice structure. Is it true or false? Metals have a lattice structure. You can go back to your slide as well, earlier slides. You can see whether it is lattice or not. So we have learned in the previous videos as well. So whether it is true or false, it's true, right? Metals have a lattice structure. It is true. So we have learned about few lattice structures as well: simple cubic, body-centered cubic, and face-centered cubic, HCP, hexagonal closed pack structure. So these are lattice structures. Second one, metallic bonding is an attraction between metal ions. Metallic bonding is an attraction between metal ions. True or false? Is a metallic bonding is attraction between metal ion. In a few slides behind, we talk about this. We talked about this earlier. So metallic bonding is not attraction between metal ions, it is attraction between metal ion and the sea of electrons, right? So because of that, this is false. Third one, electrons have fixed places in the sea of electrons. Electrons have a fixed place in the sea of electrons. You can within 1 or 2 seconds you can get the answer. I was telling again and again, as I told you, electrons in the sea of electrons have a high mobility. They can go from somewhere to some other places inside the metallic body. So they doesn't have any fixed place in the body. So that is also false. Fourth one, metallic bonding allows metals to conduct electricity. Metallic bonding allows metals to conduct electricity. Is it true or false? Just think, what are the other primary bonds? Covalent bond, ionic bonds. Basically, if there is some covalent bond, it is the capability of conducting electricity is not that high. Even in ionic bonds, if it is in a liquid, it can conduct because there are ions, but if it is in solid form, it is quite difficult to conduct current because there are no moving or mobile electrons in that structure. But when it comes to the metallic bonding, we have very highly mobile electrons go here and there, so they can conduct the electricity. So this one is true. Fifth one, metallic bonding allows metals to be bent. Metallic bonding allows metals to be bent. We just discussed this in the previous slide. As I told, metal ion have a organized structure, yet when we push the material or when we force the material, these ions will shift to another place, but it will keep the same structure but it can move because of the metallic bond, because of the electron C. So this is also true. Metallic bonding allows the metals to bend. That is true. Sixth one, metallic bonding lowers the melting point of metals. Metallic bonding lowers the melting point of metal. So we just discussed the first slide we have learned today. Metallic bond is a high strength bond. It needs a higher energy to break. That means we need to heat it to a higher temperature to be a melt. So in that case, this is false. The right one should be metallic bonding will increase the metallic point of metal. Right. Hope you got the correct answers for all when you are thinking in your mind. So let's go to the next slide. So this one, I just put this slide for your information, but there will be a separate lesson on corrosion at the end of the module. So I will just go on the surface about this corrosion. So corrosion will tell you about the uncertainty or anitya bhava about anything. So even metals, they corrode. We know that even we don't say there are noble metals like platinum, gold, they are not corroding, but the thing is even they are corroding. If you can remember when you're a child or even young, you may have gold, or your mother, your sister may have gold jewelries, but after some time, after 5 or 10 years, they go to a certain place to polish up, or let's say to brighten up the jewelries. The reason is there will be a slight oxide layer on top of the gold oxide layer will cover the gold, and it will reduce the shininess, or we can say the glossy finish of the gold. So even gold happen like that, but the main reason is not only the gold, there are other materials as well inside this jewelry gold, right? There are, let's say, silver is there, nickel is there, copper is there. So because of that, there can be that reasons as well, right? So basically, what is corrosion or corrode? What happens is when the metal exposed to the environment, we know in the environment there are oxygen. So oxygen tend to react with many pure form of metals in the environment other than gold and platinum. So it will react with the metal and it will make the oxide of the metal. So that we call the corrosion. But the thing is, there are two ways of corrosion. Now, this is not official. Thing is this, some corrosion is there, it will protect the material or the metal. But some corrosions will be there, it will destroy the material. For example, if you take iron, when a ferrous oxide layer is come up on the surface of iron, we call it rust, or in Sinhala we call malakada. So it will peel off the surface. So it will expose a new surface to corrode it again. So layer by layer, it will corrode to the inside. But when it comes to stainless steel, what happens? In stainless steel, we are adding alloying element such as chromium and nickel. Now here something happens. So it will react with this alloy, stainless steel will react with the oxygen, and it will form, other than this ferrous oxide, it will form chromium oxide as well as nickel oxide. The thing in this oxide is, it does not peel off the surface of the iron or the steel. It will stick on top of the stainless steel surface. It's very hard to remove. And other than that, the most specialty is this oxide layer is transparent. We can see through it. That's why we called in let's say nickel finish, we call nickel finish, or in Sinhala we call sudu yakad. So the reason is you will see a glossy finish because that oxide layer you can see through. Because of that, you will see a very polished surface in stainless steel. So that's the reason behind that. Also, when it comes to aluminium, same thing. Aluminium is a high reactive material. Not like considering to sodium and potassium, it is not that much reactive. Anyway, what happened in aluminium is aluminium also make a aluminium oxide layer on top of its surface, and that that oxide layer will protect the further corrosion of the metal. But the thing is, you have heard, don't cook acidic things like lime or things like chutney, acharu, pickles, right? So those things, it is not advised to use aluminium to cook those things. The reason is acid can scratch, or acid can react with that aluminium oxide. Then aluminium will come to your food. So it is toxic. So that is the reason why elders are telling us, don't use aluminium if you are cooking something acidic. Right? So those things are also there. Now, in many cultures, so gold is unreactive metal and it does not corrode easily. But some acids are there, even gold can't resist. In many cultures, gold is considered as a precious metal and it is used to make sacred and decorative objects because it's long-lasting material. I don't know whether you know, in the country of Burma or Thailand or something, I can't remember, they have a different tradition. In the river, they are collecting a very thin amount of gold, I think, and they push it into two papers like a sticker. And there's a tradition, they have a Buddha statue inside a temple, and they went to the temple with that gold stripe, and they stick in that gold and take the stick out. So gold will deposit on the statue, Buddha statue. So that have happened since many years. Now even the statue does not sees as a Buddha statue. It's just a lump of gold. You know, something, it is not gold. I don't know, but I saw in the documentary anyway. So those things are also there. Right. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. So I told these things already. What is rusting? As I told you, corrosion of iron happens, and so it will make the iron oxide, ferrous oxide, ferric oxide, things like that. And I also told you this oxide of ferrous tend to peel off the surface. That's why iron easily corrode into the inside the body, right? So from here I will stop this video, and I will also upload a little video about alloys as well. I have done this video for a separate class, so I will upload that video to you, so it will be easy for me as well. So until next week, have a nice day.